everyone, so this is a requested video from J Anxiety, so everyone go and follow him right now. You see kids, if you make requests you get shout outs. Anyway, the video is about the amygdala. Excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, but I believe I'm saying it right. So the amygdala is an almond-shaped section of nervous tissue in the temporal lobe, and it would be located at a point where a line going through your eye and a line going through your ear intersect. Every person normally has two amygdalae, and these are located on either side of the brain. This is thought to be part of the limbic system of the brain, which is responsible for emotions, survival instincts, and memory. But many people have said that it actually works separately to the limbic system. It's most associated with the fear response because fear is quite easy to examine in the lab setting. We could say here a more general statement about negative bias in research in psychology, because much of the research is based on negative emotions, but this is just because negative emotions are more appropriate with survival. You can see how this might have some worth on an evolutionary basis. If we think of the fight or flight response, when your body perceives danger, then the amygdala will help to create the fear response. It will send messages to the brain to increase the blood pressure, increase the heart rate, and this sets you up for whatever reaction you need to take place. For example, fighting or flighting. The amygdala is associated with perceptions of emotions such as anger, fear, sadness, but also the controlling of aggression. And I think it's interesting to note here that the size of the amygdala is positively correlated with increased aggression and physical behaviour. However, the amygdala also plays a role in human sexual activity and the libido, so the sex drive. And the amygdala can change in size depending on age, gender, and hormonal activity. So how does the amygdala actually work? Well, it works by getting sensory information directly from the sensory inputs, for example, visual input, auditory input, and all of this information is put together or converges in the amygdala. So the input of the amygdala is from the sensory input from the outside external world, and the output being the connection to the different systems involved in emotion and also controlling behaviour. It's important to note here that the amygdala doesn't just get one piece of sensory information, it gets all the sensory information from the environment. Additional to this, it also gets information from the higher order systems, such as the prefrontal cortex, and also higher order association areas in the integrated part of the cortex. If we think about the different approaches to psychology, this almost links directly to behaviorism, because the amygdala helps us to associate a response with a stimulus. If you hear a sound before you feel pain, if you hear that sound again, you will almost certainly associate that sound with pain, because the amygdala has made that connection in your mind. However, as we might expect, if we hear a sound before receiving food, then the response will be more positive. So it's not always a negative emotion. For example, if we look at Pavlov's dogs, and this is a key study in behaviorism, and this is when Pavlov conditioned dogs to associate the sound of a bell with receiving food. So once the dogs heard the bell, they assumed that they were going to receive food, which is a positive reward. So this behaviour has been reinforced by the amygdala. So this information can then be used, which is what we refer to when we say adaptive behaviour. And this stimulus-response relationship can then be used to guide instrumental behaviour, which is goal directive. So to illustrate this more, we can use a case study of SM. And SM was a woman who had bilateral damage to her amygdala. To explore the role of the amygdala, Feinstein and his University of Iowa team exposed SM to a number of different situations which people would usually feel fear. For example, exposing her to snakes and spiders, taking her to a haunted house, and also they had her watch a series of horror movies. They also had her fill out a questionnaire which probed her fear of different things, from the fear of death to the fear of public speaking. On top of that, SM was also asked to record her emotions at different times of the day, over the period of 3 months. And across all questionnaires, measures and scenarios, SM showed no fear response. After the study, Feinstein said that he was most surprised at what happened when SM was presented with snakes, as before the study happened, she had an absolute phobia of snakes. But when presented with them in a pet store, she went straight to them and started petting them. And when asked about this, she said she was overcome with a curiosity, but was perplexed at her own actions. So quite understandably from this, Feinstein concluded that the amygdala of the brain is a pivotal area for triggering the fear response. He also says that new methods designed to safely and non-invasively turn off the amygdala, they could actually be of much use for people who suffer from PTSD. which is post-traumatic stress disorder. Feinstein had been treating veterans returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan, and of course they suffered from PTSD. So Feinstein states that if we found a way to actually turn the amygdala off, then this would be very useful for turning off the fear response and not letting fear take over our lives. So I believe I've covered everything that you need to know, but if I've not, then please leave it in the comments, because I appreciate constructive criticism. But I would like to thank J Anxiety again for requesting a video, and I'd like to encourage more people to request videos, as this really helps the process along. So anyway, I hope this was useful, and I hope you have a great day, and yeah, make sure you revise it well.